Assalamu alaikum. Greetings. Welcome and thank you everyone joining us today in this webinar, a spotlight on Qatar's real estate market reforms, brought to you by the Investment Promotion Agency in collaboration with the Ministry of Municipality and Environment, the Ministry of Justice, Qatari Diar, United Development Company, UDC, and Sotheby's International Realty. With you here is Nasser Al-Kandi. I'm the Officer of Investor Relations at the Investment Promotion Agency. And to be honest, I'm very, very delighted and very privileged to be moderating such an important webinar that will touch base and highlight the most recent unprecedented reforms in Qatar's investment ecosystem, and more specifically in the real estate sector. So yeah, I'm very thrilled and I'm very looking forward to hear more on this topic from our distinguished keynote speakers and panelists. Just before kicking off this webinar, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. First, I'd like to note that this webinar is recorded and it will be made available throughout our social media outlets and upon request. And secondly, please do not hesitate to ask any questions you have throughout the webinar. We do have a question and answer feature on the bottom right corner of your screens. So please feel free to have your questions there, and I promise you that I'll raise them up to our distinguished panelists at the question and answer session. So yeah, let's kick off our webinar with a short video that briefs us on these reforms. To the video. Welcome again. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, a very short but informative one. And now let's get the show on the road and start our webinar with our keynote speakers. First on the agenda is the Sheikh Ali bin Al-Walid Al-Thani, the CEO of the Investment Promotion Agency. Sheikh Ali, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nasser, and welcome everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. أرحب بجميع المشاركين في هذه الندوة الافتراضية بمشاركة وزارة العدل، وزارة البلدية والبيئة، بالإضافة إلى شركات ديار القطرية، سوثبيز، وأيضا متحدة التنمية. اسمحوا لي الآن أنتقل للغة الإنجليزية. Dear esteemed partners and guests, I'm pleased to welcome you today to our webinar, held with the valuable contributions of the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Municipality and Environment, Qatari Diar, United Development Company, and the Qatar Sotheby's International Realty. Thanks to the Council of Ministers decision number 28 of 2020, the country is about to witness a shift in the development of its real estate sector. Investing in Qatar's real estate market now is more lucrative than ever after this law. The number of areas available to international investors, ownership and use of real estate now is up to 25 areas. Ownership of detached units in residential compounds and shopping malls throughout the country has now been allocated and is now allowed. That gives a more diverse range of properties and across more areas. The two-tiered residency program with coveted benefits for the first time, including free education, healthcare, commercial activity investments, is now allocated to real estate investors who invest up to $1 million equivalent in their properties. Reforms like these bring progress on several levels and fronts. It further enriches Qatar's overall value proposition to investors and individuals. It keeps pace with the country's economic and urban development and opens up new horizons for strategic investments and partnership opportunities in the real estate sector with local and international firms. Procedures are streamlined and benefits can be reaped. There's 15 real estate centers across the country for registration and documentation services. There's a dedicated section on the Ministry of Justice website to facilitate access to relevant data and forms. You can complete a transaction now typically in 10 to 15 minutes with fast delivery and residency claims that can be processed in only a few days. The outlook for the real estate investment sector is very bright. There's a 36% rise in real estate transactions in 2020, with around 5,000 transactions at around a valuation of 31 billion Qatari riyals. And that compared to 2019, where there was 3,700 transactions at a valuation of around 22 billion Qatari riyals. And this reflects the growth of the market and other related sectors and domains. The 2021 state budget includes many new projects, also set to stimulate further the market growth. Rapid growth in the number of residential and commercial properties, including towers, malls, luxury villas, around 10,000 new residential units in 2020 alone, according to certain reports. These are just a few of many developments in the real estate market that make Qatar an even more attractive destination for international investors and individuals. On that note, I hope that today's webinar will bring you one step closer to your long-term business ambitions while living in a place that you can call home. And thank you, and let me share my appreciation as well to all the speakers today for their respective contributions. Thank you very much. Back to you, Nasser.
Thank you, Sheikh Ali, for your kind remarks. And now I'd like to hand it over to Mr. Ahmed bin Yusuf Al-Imadi, the Assistant Director of Legal Affairs from the Ministry of Municipality and Environment. Ahmed.
Thank you, Mr. Nasser. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, and on behalf of Ministry of Municipality and Environment, we would like to say thank you to the Investment Promotion Agency for their kind invitation. Having said that, the Ministry of Municipality and Environment has taken many huge steps to encourage real estate investment by updating the current legislations, as well as enacting a new legislation in order to keep pace with the state vision that encourages on real estate investments. Recently, as 2020, the Cabinet issued a decision number 10 of the year 2020 to establish a committee on real estate sector development strategy from where the Real Estate Promotion Agency emanated through it. Also, in the same year, Minister of Municipality and Environment established a decision number 81 of the year 2020 regarding sorting and annexing real estate and real estate units, which will contribute significantly on benefit and investment on real estate sector. Furthermore, the ministry is working hard on preparing a number of legislation that will contribute on stimulate the real estate investment in the coming years ahead. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmed. Now let's turn over the floor to Ms. Qada Kafout, who is the legal researcher of the Non-Qatari Real Estate Ownership Center at the Ministry of Justice. Qada, the floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Qada Kafout. I am pleased to be with you today as a representative on behalf of the Ministry of Justice. in this significant event to highlight the issue of investment in the real estate sector, which is considered one of the most important sectors to achieve the goals of our national vision to 2030 socially and economically. We have recently witnessed the issuance of several laws and decisions to contribute the enhancement of real estate sector, and which created a legal framework for investment in the region. Referring to the decision of the Council Ministers number 28 of 2020 on specifying the areas which non-Qataris may own and use the real estate, condition, controls, and benefits for their ownership has been a quite quantum leap in the sector that introduced many advantages. This decision has defined the areas where non-Qataris may own the real estate, which are 25 areas, categorized into 9 freehold areas and 16 usufruct areas. The decision introduced new advantages as well, in which non-Qataris may also own a detached unit in one of the residential complexes, as well as detached units of offices and commercial shops in the commercial malls. The implementation of the decision is undertaken by coordinating with other governmental institutions and ministries, such as the Ministry of Interior, to provide the applicant residencies after completing the procedures. In regard to the residencies, a real estate owner can obtain a residence permit if the real estate value is not less than 730,000 Qatar riyals, which is equivalent to $200,000, sorry. And the other category is obtained if the value of the real estate is over than 3,650,000 Qatar riyals, which is equivalent to $1 million, with the benefits of the permanent residency holders in healthcare, education, and investment in certain commercial activities. These advantages takes a significant role in the real estate sector. And in accordance to the decision enforcement, the Committee for Non-Qatari Ownership, which was established in the Ministry of Justice, according to the decision, has taken the implementation measures by opening an office in the Pearl to receive requests regarding the ownership. All services and procedures and sale contract and registration will be provided through a single window through the Ministry of Justice office and the Ministry of Interior. We note here that the decision will undoubtedly make a quantum leap in developing the real estate sector in the state of Qatar, and will enhance investment in the region to serve the country economically on one hand, and benefits the local and foreign investor on the other hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Ghada. Thank you to our distinguished speakers for their kind remarks and very helpful insights on the legislative angle or perspective of these reforms. We'd now like to move to our presenters and panelists. Joining us in presenting on the opportunities in Qatar are representatives from key stakeholders and developers, such as the Qatari Diar and UDC, as well as an international real estate agency represented by Sotheby's International Realty. So let's kick off our presentations with a presentation from Qatari Diar to be delivered by Mr. Khalid Saad Al-Ataibi, who is the Manager of Portfolio Management and Development, and Mr. Rahul Qudar, who is the Real Estate Investment and Strategy Specialist. Mr. Rahul and Mr. Khalid, let's see what Lusail and Diar offers to investors. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Nasser. First of all, I would like to thank Qatar Promotion Agency to have this webinar today. And my name is Khalid Al-Ataibi. I'm representing Qatari Diar Real Estate Company with my colleague, Mr. Rahul, our investment director. We are the development arm of Qatar Investment Authority International. And locally, we are the master developer of Lusail City. Lusail City, which has an area of 38 square kilometer and is located north of Doha City. Qatari Diar spent around $12.6 billion in infrastructure. And once it's completed, we'll have more than 200 people living there. And there is many opportunities there now in Lusail City. from individual to investment opportunities. And we are more than happy to answer any question during the panels. And I would like now to excuse us to play a small movie to show more about Al Usail city. I think we need me access to play the video, Mr. Nasser.
Yes, sure, 1 second. Can you try now, Mr. Khalid?
Yeah, I'm fine now. This is 1 minute.
Great, thank you.
Where is the place of your dreams? Where can you imagine living by the sea? Close to nature and to the city as well. With your choice of transport, a modern office, close to everything, with your favorite pastimes just a moment away. Where is the place of your dreams? Welcome to the heart of the Orient. Welcome to Qatar. Come and be our guest. Doha, the capital city, brings everything together. This city sets standards. Doha links Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. A meeting point of many nations, where tradition meets modernity. The home of the future. Lusail. A grand design of urban development takes shape. Join us on the way to a new visionary city. A maritime city with an endless chain of beaches. Lusail will be the ideal city for everybody who is searching for happiness and quality of life. Arrive on time. Take a taxi, a water taxi. A new class of living and a new height of mobility. A completely redesigned traffic system. Efficient and safe. With short commutes in a pleasant atmosphere. Fusing together centuries-old urban development experience with modern technology into a smart city concept. An underground utility service system is the second network of the city. Invisible, unnoticed in the background. Maintenance of your energy, water, air conditioning, and disposal services, all out of sight, out of mind. You will not notice a thing. Be our guest or stay forever. Our promise, an urban identity based on a clear concept. Functional and emotive. Lusail is authentic. Lusail will take care of your children's needs and your family. A new home for your family to grow and prosper. A villa, townhouse, or an apartment at the beach. The choice is yours. We are realizing the dream of a true city. A city for living your fullest life. A city for everybody. The harmony of Qatari heritage with contemporary designs. Here, your aspirations become reality. Welcome to the heart of the Orient. Welcome to Lusail. Imagine a new quality of life. Imagine marinas and waterways, a smooth flow of traffic. Imagine architecture that works, a sustainable design of technology. Enjoy all options of living and mobility. Discover the key to work-life balance. A cosmopolitan city. Your place to live. We are realizing a dream for us and for generations to come.
Mr. Nasser?
Thank you, Mr. Khalid. Lusail is indeed one of the most ambitious developments of smart cities across the globe. It sets a great example of future cities and how smart cities should look like. It has a strong emphasis on sustainability. It has a strong emphasis on all components that collectively construct a smart city, such as mobility, automation, sustainability, autonomous. It is definitely a landmark. Thank you, Mr. Khalid. And now I'd like to hand it over to Mr. Basil Bahout, who is the Residential Sales Director at TDC. Mr. Basil, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Nasser, and thank you. First of all, Assalamu alaikum, and allow me to thank the Investment Promotion Agency for the invitation today. My name is Basil Bahout. I'm representing United Development Company and our two flagship projects, which are the Pearl Qatar and Juwan Island. Just a small brief about myself. I've been with the company for 11 years, and I'm born and raised in Qatar, so I've had the luxury to witness the project from its inception. So I would be, I'm gonna love talking to you about it. Just a second, I'm just trying to get the presentation up. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, it's clear.
Yeah. It's clear. All right, perfect. Just to quickly touch base here, United Development Company, obviously it is a public listed company that was established in 1999 with currently a total assets of around 18.9 billion riyals as of Q3 2022. Since we established in 1999, by 2003 we were listed in the stock exchange market, and by 2004 we started the works on the Pearl Qatar Island, which is, by the way, UDC's flagship project, and from there it is the first urban development project that Qatar offers in terms of the freehold. So we are one of the 9 designated freehold zones. The entire island is there. The Pearl Qatar has become, a landmark in terms of what is considered possibly one of the best addresses in Qatar, I would say. And In addition to that, UDC is currently also in the process of developing Jiwan Island that is located just adjacent to the Pearl Qatar, and we'll talk very briefly about it in the upcoming slides. These are just the major subsidiaries and associates that are involved, UDC is involved in. I do just want to mention one thing, that one of our associates, which is Qatar Pool, currently has the world's biggest district cooling plant in the world, and it is currently located in the Pearl Qatar. And the others are the either subsidiaries or associates in which we are involved in. Back to the real estate section, obviously, what you see in front of you is the air view of the island that has currently become a community. It sits on 4 million square meters of reclaimed land, and this reclaimed land started in 2004, and it has created 32 kilometers of coastline. And by the way, that also has created a beautiful marine life in the coast of Doha, and this is being preserved as well. Just to quickly brief you through it in a minute, in a nutshell, we will start with the first two towers, which are right here. These are the tallest towers on the Pearl. They go up to around 200 meters in height. These are offices, buildings, and then we go all the way to the the different segments of the island itself, being Port Arabia as the first phase of the island that consists of around 31 towers, and the second segment, which is Viva Bahariya, that consists of currently 28 towers. We in UDC, we own, or we are the master developers of the island itself, but we have a lot of sub-developers involved with us, an investor, and that gave them the opportunity to also invest on the island and have their own real estate portfolios that exist on the island itself. In addition to that, UDC also has its own portfolio in terms of the recurring revenue and what it sells and what's not in regards to the residential properties. Just to give you a small brief, because I'm asked this question a lot, what is the overall occupancy once the Pearl is finished? Based on the figures, and this is just an estimate figures, and we benchmark two persons per room. Once it's finished, we will have around 21,230 residential units, and it will fit up to 70,000 people, benchmarked on 2 persons per room. And back to that, we as UDC, we have also developed our own properties, being just give you a small brief here. We have Qanat Cartier, Medina Central, we have Port Arabia, 4 towers, Viva Bahariya, and then we have compounds that come here. That came up to around 3,996 properties that were developed here. So our core business is real estate, obviously, and we are in the business of either residential leasing residential properties long-term, so minimum 1 year, or and in addition to that, we have the residential sales aspect of it, which comes into play in all sorts of properties. We can go all the way from studios to penthouses and even private villas. The other flagship project which we have, what we would like to call the wow factor, the UDC's latest wow factor, is the Jiwan Island. It's connected to the Pearl Qatar, as you can see here. This is the entire island. It sits on around 360,000 square meters of land, and it's divided into 4 segments for all the golf course or the golf players. It is not an 18-hole course. However, it's a state-of-the-art 9-hole course, and it is it's attached to a 5-star hotel, Realty Hotel. This is the first segment of it. The second segment would be the mixed-use real estate. My favorite part of the island here is that it has the crystal walkthrough, so you have a temperaturized outdoor retail section, around 11,000 square meters, that is controlled temperature throughout the year. We have around 586 residential properties, and these are supposed to be released hopefully in the near future. As of the 3rd and 4th segments, we go into the private villas, whether they are waterfront or beachfront. We have a total of 47, in addition to 6 private islands. We're happy to announce that all of them have been sold. So segment 3 and 4, which is the villa plots and the islands. And this shows, just to add to what Sheikh Ali has mentioned in terms of the appetite, it was great. There's also a small video I would love to show you. Hopefully, if we have time later, I'll be happy to share that on the island itself. I know we are limited on time. And last but not least, I want to thank everybody. And this is our social media. If you would like to follow us, if you have any other questions, I'll be with you in the Q&As at the end. And back to you, Mr. Nasser. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Basil. I mean, while you were going over the presentation, you clicked a memory on my brain. I mean, back in 2007, I used to pass by West Bay, and I used to see this huge man-made island with like literally nothing. The only thing that there was the slogan, "The Pearl Qatar, the most glamorous address in the Middle East." And I was asking myself, how is this the most glamorous address? You know? But 14 years later, I'm pretty much convinced that the Pearl Qatar is one of the most, if not the most, glamorous address in the Middle East. So well done, Basil, and well done to
Thank
GC.
you, sir. Thank you. It's a reality that came true. Thank you.
Exactly. So now I'd like to turn the floor over to Mr. Oliver Essex, who is the Senior Sales Associate at Qatar Sotheby's International Realty. Mr. Oliver, please.
Thank you, Mr. Nasser. So first of all, before I get started, I'd just like to thank IPA for inviting us to be a part of this webinar. And 1 second. Is that okay? Perfect. Okay, so sorry, as I was saying, my name's Oliver Essex. I'd like to thank IPA for inviting us to be a part of this webinar today. And I'd also just like to thank those of you watching as well for giving us your time. So Sotheby's International Realty is the world's largest luxury real estate network. To date, we have over 22,000 agents in 972 offices located in 73 different countries and territories around the globe. In 2019, Qatar Sotheby's International Realty was set up for two main reasons. The first was to introduce Qatari and international clients to our exclusive real estate opportunities in Qatar. And the second was to provide a platform for local investors to purchase international real estate through our Sotheby's International Realty referral network. So the resolution 28 of 2020 in many ways was a game changer for many investors that I've spoken to who are based here on the ground, particularly expats, because what it enables them to do is now have further confidence in the real estate market here. It means that when they purchase a property, it gives them a permanent residency. And what that also allows them to do is to look more long-term with their investment, giving them the potential to retire here in Qatar, provided they still own the piece of real estate. As you heard earlier on, there are 25 different areas that you can purchase as an expat, 9 freehold areas, and then 16 usufruct areas, which are essentially 99-year leasehold areas. What's nice about having this variety of locations is it gives you the opportunity to purchase a number of different types of properties in different locations, as well as some land offerings as well. The St. Regis Residences at Mas Arabia Islands is located in the center of Puerto Arabia, which is also on the Pearl Qatar. For the first time here in Qatar, as a purchaser, you get the chance to purchase a hotel branded residence, which has access to 5-star services, facilities and amenities, whilst having access to the existing St. Regis Hotel, offering a resort lifestyle, and not only that, but a residency permit for all of your family members. So the key plan on the screen shows the development. So you basically have 9 small buildings. Building 1 and 2 here are the hotel, and then buildings 3, 5, 7 and 9 are the residences. And you have a mixture of 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom and 4-bedroom apartments and townhouses. In total, you have 364 branded residences. The services available to you have things like housekeeping, laundry service, in-room dining. You also have additional services as well available to you through the 24-hour concierge service. Facilities, you have a 700 square meter gym. You have 12 signature restaurants. You have 8 swimming pools. You also have access to the first La Prairie Spa here in the Middle East, coupled with a nightclub and also a cigar lounge. So the pictures on the screen I'm showing here are a true representation of what you would receive with your purchase on completion. Now, this is actually a show apartment that we have of the project on the island. So if you'd like to arrange to come and have a look at the show apartment, then obviously we can arrange for you to do that. I'm going to now just show you a very quick video as I come out of this to give you a bit more information about our sales kit and how we're currently demonstrating to bear with me. So the idea of this video is to showcase the type of technology that we're using at Qatar Sotheby's International Realty to promote our exclusive project, the St. Regis Residences at Marsa Arabia Island. The idea of using technology like this is to give you as a purchaser as much information as physically possible so that when you come to pick a unit in the project, you feel like you have as much information as possible so that you feel comfortable when you move forward and make that purchase. What it enables us to do is to basically go into smaller details within the project, take you into each building, take you around that building, show you the aspect of the apartment you're looking to purchase, and then I can take you into a specific apartment, show you the floor plan, where it's located in the floor plate, and then also show you the view of the property and what it looks like from not only inside, but also from the balcony as well. Okay, so that's basically the sales kit that we use at the moment to assist purchasers so that it gives you a better understanding of not only the project, but so that we can go into more detail. So to give you just a quick brief in terms of some of the units that are eligible for the Tier 1 residency. So one-bedroom apartments start at 103 square meters. Prices start at 2,672,000 Qatari riyals or 734,000 US dollars. We also have one-bedroom townhouses which start at around 109 square meters and can be as large as 139 square meters. What's unique about the townhouses is that they're located on 2 levels. They also give you access to a private garden and also your own private pool. The 2-bedroom apartments, so there are basically 6 different types of 2-beds apartments within the project. The smallest apartment on the left-hand side is 159 square meters, and the entry price into the 2-bed options are 4,234,000 or 1.16 million US dollars. The unit on the right-hand side was actually the unit that I went to in the video, and the reason that I did that was it's actually to date been the most popular type of unit that people have purchased. What's unique about this specific unit is that you've got balconies from the living area, which you only have 6 of these units located in the entire project, and we only actually have 1 available unit left. This is priced at just south of 5.2 million. And this would also be, these units would be the first options available for the Type 2 residency permit. 3 beds, there are a couple of different options. Sizes start at 227 square meters and the prices start at 5.8 million and will go as high as about 6.3 million Qatari riyals. The difference in price will vary just based on where the unit's located within the project. On the right-hand side, I'm showing a 3-bedroom duplex, which is part of the duplex collection located only in Building 5. These start at 272 square meters and can be as large as 307 square meters, and you have a starting price of 7.3 million Qatari riyals or 2 million US dollars. So how can you pay for a unit if you want to purchase? So essentially what we're offering for a limited time now is on purchase, you would pay 10% of the value of the property. Then on completion of September of this year, you would pay 30%. And then you basically have 5 years post-completion to pay the remaining 60%. What this basically means as you as an investor is that it enables you to receive the keys for your property whilst having only paid 40%. And then it gives you 5 years to receive an income whilst paying off that remaining 60%. Or if you look at it another way, it gives you a very high return on equity for the first 5 years that you're paying off the property. 3 just very quick steps in terms of how you would purchase a property. obviously, first of all, you need to select the unit you want to purchase, but once you've done that, you pay a deposit of 10,000 Qatari riyals and sign a reservation form. 5 to 7 days later, the SPA will be ready, and you then at that point pay the 10% down payment. And then the third and final part of the process is that you would wait for the developer to countersign your contract, which normally takes a couple of weeks. If you'd like to receive any further information, then you'll be able to ask me questions later on in the webinar, or you can get in contact with us in the details below. Thank you, Nasser. Back to you.
Thank you, Oliver. Some interesting stuff out there. And I'd also like to thank our distinguished presenters who will shortly join us in our panel discussion. So in the panel discussion, we're going to try to revolve our discussions around these unprecedented reforms, and also show how such reforms strengthen the Qatari market and provide an attractive value proposition to foreign investors. I mean, I think we are very fortunate today to have a combination of panelists representing key stakeholders, and of course, a prominent, prestigious international real estate agency, as Qatar Sotheby's International Realty, who would give us this macro-level international perspective on Qatar's real estate market. So, I mean, here, I wouldn't do much of the talking. I mean, you're not here to hear me, so I leave it over to our distinguished panelists to take the contribution, to take the conversation forward. One thing I'd like to encourage is that please, this is an open discussion, it's an open dialogue, so please feel free to interject as you see fit. And yeah, so let's start this panel discussion as we're limited in time. I'd like to start with you, Mr. Oliver. So as a representative of a very prestigious and a very prominent real estate agency, with of course a very strong presence worldwide, what made Qatar appealing to Sotheby's International Realty?
I think first of all, Sotheby's International Realty are always looking for sort of feeder markets, if you like. And what do I mean by that? I think that, as you probably know, the Qatari investors buy an awful lot of real estate in international markets, obviously particularly London, different parts of the States, throughout Europe. So I think first of all is that what tends to happen is that they, through their network, they're always able to look at where particular purchases are located in the world. And then obviously when they see a certain location where you have a very high concentration of purchases, they will look to find a real estate agency that they can partner with in that location. Then obviously as well, when you look at the local market, as Qatar, as we know, is growing, and it's obviously grown a lot since 2007, 2008. Because of that, I think perhaps also because of the Middle East, and perhaps without wanting to mention Dubai too much, is that obviously that has drawn people's attention to the region, and then obviously people have then looked outside of Dubai to look at potential other opportunities as investors maybe look for new places to invest.
Great. Well done. I'd like now to move to Mr. Basir. So how did the UDC incorporate the value proposition of Qatar and your strategy? Like, what messages have you conveyed to the international audience about Qatar that you believe would make Qatar an attractive hub or an attractive investment destination?
I think it's a very important question. Thank you for that, Mr. Nasser. We have actually previously participated right before the COVID. We were actually aiming, we went all the way to China, Shanghai. We've participated twice. We've went to Russia, and obviously not to mention the region market. We saw that there was a very, very high appetite in terms of Qatar. So what we did is we started promoting Qatar in terms of a country. We actually approached a few other agencies for that support, and then from there we kind of maneuvered back to the real estate and the benefits of it. As you know, the simple or the main features which we talk about usually. Qatar is considered one of the safest countries in the world. It has a mashallah very strong economy. We have a state-of-the-art airport, best airlines in the world, best education. So there's a lot to show off with in terms of Qatar as a country. And this is what we saw. A lot of the questions were referred to in terms of if we're talking about foreign student exchanges or families that want to move in here. And from there, this is where the real estate sector comes in, and we promote, for being in the master developer of the Pearl. It's a freehold community. Feel free to come and own. In terms of the taxes situation, we had a lot of questions on that. So yes, the short answer to that is there is definitely a very, very high potential and demand, especially not to mention the 2022 and the 2030 vision. But due to the pandemic, these international inquiries has slowed down a little bit. However, the local market definitely picked that up during the pandemic. I'm sure we'll discuss this in a bit. However, we would like to see this come back, inshallah, once the world eases down on the lockdown and things come back to control. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Basil. What about Rahul? What about the Qatari Diar? What strategies have you implemented or adopted to market Qatar outside to international investors?
Thanks, Nasser. I mean, pretty much from a Qatari Diar standpoint, we are ourselves not just investors into the Qatari real estate market. We do have a large exposure into international markets where, for instance, in the UK, we are developing luxury real estate, such as Chelsea Barracks, South Bank, etc. We do have access to, through those developments, we do have wider access to international investors, be in East, such as Hong Kong and China, be it in the UK, Europe, and in the US. And of course, from a regional standpoint, we do have good access to investors and potential sort of participants within the real estate sector in Qatar, in the region. So from that standpoint, we've made efforts over the years trying to attract both retail and institutional investors to look at inbound investors in real estate in Qatar, because we very strongly believe that the sector has, from a Qatar standpoint, has a very good potential when it gets to looking at comparisons between various other opportunities in the region or internationally, broadly speaking. We've had, again, we are sort of lucky to be having agencies such as yourselves and otherwise within Qatar who help us participate in various events such as this and for instance in Russia and so on and so forth, where we can showcase not just our international developments but also Lusail as a city where we can attract investors to come on board.
Thank you, Mr. Rahul. I mean, all the respective presentations or presenters mentioned some sort of residency, some sort of incentives that deals with residency and permanent residency here in Qatar. So my question is here, I mean, to all of you guys, how did the government residency decision assist in the overall portfolio of property sales? Who would like to start?
I can start. In terms of the residency, I'll be happy to start with that. I believe I was lucky enough, Mr. Nasser, I was possibly one of the first people to apply for that. As you know, the Ministry of Justice, we have in coordination with the Ministry of Interior, we have offices here in the Oyster building in the Pearl, Qatar. I cannot explain to you how quick and efficient it was. It was mind-blowing, honestly. So what happened is they give you a link, and this is just my personal experience on that, is that they send you a link. I own a property that's on the first tier, if you want, the 220,000 US. So they send you a link, you upload your ID card and your title deed, and you fill in all the details. And within 24 hours, I got the message that your residency permit has been approved. Please go and collect it. And you just visit their offices to finalize the paperwork and issue your new resident permit. And it was an extremely easy process, and the team here are very helpful. And this is just from a person who, okay, I've been living and born and raised here, or been living here my entire life. So, and this is what the aim is that when you attract investment funds, regardless whether they are companies or they are individuals or they are foreign exchange students or they're working in the medical sector, this is the beauty of it, is that
you get all these benefits when you buy these properties. And not only that, you're not just freezing your money, you're actually investing it here. So whether you want to live in your property or you want to rent it out, you're still getting extreme solid returns. Despite on the current financial situation or the pandemic, our returns are considered extremely healthy in Doha. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone would like to participate? Answer the question?
Yeah, I can.
Albert, please.
So I think certainly initially what we've seen is that sort of expats that have been located here in Qatar, you know, a lot of people that I've met certainly have been here for 10, 15, 20 years. I met a British guy who's been here for 40 plus years. And I think that immediately what that's given people is the sort of comfort and confidence to look at Qatar as a sort of long-term investment destination. And I think that by obviously owning a property here, by having the residency permit, it gives you a certain element of security as well to know that you can not only, you know, set up a business here, but you can live here, you can then look to potentially retire here. And I think that particularly when you look at the long-term vision of Qatar and the 2030 vision, I think it's important to have legislation like that, so that people feel that when they, you know, someone like myself, if you feel that you move to Qatar, you feel that you can commit to be here long-term. And I think that's probably one of the most important aspects in trying to obviously diverse an economy. I think what you will see is that as things start to open up, as obviously the world, we hope, starts to go back to normal, is you will start to then see foreign investment from actually outside Qatar come into the country. And I think obviously as we get closer to the World Cup 2022 and post World Cup, I think that with the event and the way that it's going to be organized and the way it's going to be showcased, I think that it will attract a lot of investment into the country.
Thank you, Oliver. And on this note, I'd like to ask another question that is related. I mean, how do you guys project the future of the real estate sector here in Qatar, especially post World Cup 2022?
Do you want me to start again? Or?
I'd open the floor to other participants, maybe Afwan.
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Nasser, on that question, I think it's a very, very important question. And at least from our perspective, we do get asked that question quite often in terms of what after 2022. And I think from that standpoint, of course, legislations of this sort do help to build up the momentum and in terms of attracting more investors than what were available previously, therefore giving a boost to the demand side of where we stand within the real estate space as such. Overall, I do think that, you know, from a very broader economic activity standpoint, I think not just the initiative on this real estate law, but wider initiatives when it comes to promoting Qatar as an investment destination, whereby more multinationals are being attracted to come to Qatar, as what was the case previously. And I see more often in at least the discussions I do have with international sort of institutional investors, some of their concerns that would typically exist, say 5 years or 4 years back, are somewhat mitigated from the very standpoint that post 2022 we do see sort of varied economic activities to pump up the economy as such. And of course, the fact that we are talking about the initiative that we are would in turn also boost up and help the real estate sector in itself. So from our own perspective, of course, for Lusail and otherwise generally in Doha and Qatar, we are quite bullish on the real estate sector as we go forward. We do think that as we move forward, it's not an event-driven sort of opportunity. I think it's more driven by the wider macroeconomic fundamentals. It's more driven by activities to come forward. I mean, of course, we all know about the Asian Games, for instance. I mean, that's the next event to talk about after 2022. And there are many more in terms of what what could really push in terms of the demand factor or the demand side of real estate in itself.
Thank you, Mr. Afur. I'd like to open the floor for anyone who would like to have a take this question.
Yep. So I think in terms of, so as I sort of said partially in my previous answer, that I think that certainly post World Cup, I think that you will, obviously the event itself and all of the sort of further sporting events, there's also talk of, potentially the Olympics as well. Qatar is certainly trying to position itself as a big sort of sport and entertainment destination, but just based around sport. And I think that what you might find is that long term you might start to see athletes potentially moving here, looking at warm weather for that sort of warm weather training. And I think that with all of the infrastructure that's also in place, Basil and I also discussed this yesterday when we talked about the sort of education that's here, the healthcare sector. There's an awful lot going for Qatar, and I think that a big event, first of all, like the World Cup, when you're probably going to estimate have maybe anywhere from sort of 350,000 to 500,000 people, new people come to Qatar, is that is obviously going to showcase Qatar as a destination for sporting events, but also it's going to show a different type of lifestyle as well. And I think that particularly in this sort of current climate, there will be a lot of people from parts of Europe that will be looking at potentially repositioning themselves somewhere like Qatar that is very central when you look at the world map. But not only that, the climate as well. The climate's a very attractive thing. And I think to be able to give people in Europe, particularly as a British expat myself, I think give us a bit of sun and generally we're pretty happy. So I think that also with some of the new projects as well, which are being launched, obviously particularly our project, UDC's new project as well. And also you've got Qatar coming. I think with these new projects that are being developed here in Qatar, that in itself will start to attract more investors and they'll start to take note of the kind of projects that are being constructed here.
Also, just to add to what you're saying, Oliver, I believe in terms of the what comes after the FIFA 2022, in terms of the real estate, let's say, if we're taking that, if we're talking in particular about properties, as you're aware, so there are two types, or what we call, we differentiate them into two different segments. The first segment is the long-term lease, right? So people that are working and living in Qatar, they're with you, whether irrespective of that. So you're having your long-term contracts that secures your properties or your leases. And then you have what we call the fans or the designated, what the people that are coming in for that games. And these are the figures you have mentioned. And this comes into the short-term. And this is where the Supreme Committee has also been very helpful in coordinating with, I believe, the major key players in the market here in terms of the rentals of these real estates for a period of 6 months or whatnot. So I think we will see a lot of increase in the hotels, whether regardless of how many stars they are. We're going to see an increase in the short-term leases a lot. And I believe this is where each key player or developer should come in and kind of mitigate that in advance and what precaution or what measures are to be taken, and similar to what we went through in the past few years. For example, when you started introducing the lease-to-own programs or paying through installments or all these initiatives to help you keep the momentum of the sales going. And hopefully by 2022, this will be an eye-opener for a lot of people, because again, Qatar is the first in the region or internationally to host a World Cup in an Arab country. And this is a huge accomplishment for us, not to mention the credit that we must give to all the infrastructure that's being done around the country, so in terms of the infrastructure, the education, and everything that comes with it. This is just going to add to the wow factor, in addition to the stadiums that are prepared for people to consider moving here and invest in Doha comfortably, to look at the past and what's coming in the next few years.
Thank you, Mr. Basil. Yes, Oliver?
I was just seeing a question actually that's just come up on the webinar from Defi Taslim. Would you like me to answer this, or?
We'll keep it for the question and answer session. Just let us.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, let's wrap up this.
Getting ahead of myself.
So, let's wrap up this panel discussion with the last question, just in concern of time, which is what are some of the advices you have for people or investors interested to come here in Qatar and having Qatar like as their home?
I think, in terms of as a home, obviously you've got a fantastic lifestyle. I think particularly if you've got a family, I think it's a very good place to be. I think it's a very sort of calm location, but you still have a lot of attractions to come and enjoy at the weekends. Obviously, the weather plays a massive part as well. I think from an investment standpoint, Basil was also talking about this as well in the previous answer, is that the returns on investment that you can get from just simply buying a property and renting it out are very, very good. Particularly also when you look at, the cost of purchasing is very cheap here as well versus a lot of other international markets. So also the fact it's tax-free, which plays a big part. And when you're able to buy a property where you can get, returns of anything from, let's say 5.5%, 6% in our project as a net return to, maybe some sort of lower cost, but potentially cost versus rental income, you can get some returns of around sort of 7 or 8% if you look in the right place. So I think that in a low interest world, I think is a very, very attractive return on investment. And also, at least, when you're buying a piece of real estate, you also have the opportunity for long-term capital appreciation as well. And again, sort of going back to our project, the St. Regis residences at Master Arabia Islands, you're going to see, I think, strong capital appreciation once the project's finished. But if you want to simply buy it just to rent it out, 5.5%, 6% is very, very attractive.
Thank you, Mr. Oliver. Now I'd like to move to Mr. Basil we're actually running out of time. So we're going to move to the question and answer session right now. We have one question that Oliver pointed out from Deputy Taslim. The question is, can I obtain residence permit based on property ownership, even if I buy the property via bank loan or RP? RP will only issued upon full payments of property to the bank.
Sure.
Let me repeat the question again. Can I obtain residence permit based on property ownership, even if I buy the property via bank loan, or residence permit will only be issued upon fully payment?
Okay, so if you're buying through a bank loan, obviously in Qatar you have two different types of bank loan. If it's just a normal bank loan, then yes, you can buy a property with a normal mortgage and obtain the residency permit. But if it's an Islamic mortgage, you can't. And the reason for that is that when you buy a property with an Islamic mortgage, is that essentially the bank owns the property and you as the purchaser are classed as the tenant, so to speak. So in that scenario, because the title deed wouldn't be in your name, you wouldn't be able to get the residency permit. However, if it's a normal mortgage, because the title deed is in your name, you would be able to obtain a residency permit. Now, it's also worth noting as well that for a property that is under construction, so like for instance, our project, it will be complete at the end of September this year. So if you've paid full payment of the property by the completion date, then once the property is complete and you receive your title deed, you would then be able to apply for your residency permit. But if you're going to purchase using our 5-year post handover payment plan, you would only be eligible to get the residency permit once you have paid the full amount. I hope that answers the question.
Now let's move to the second question from Ashu Sud. Sorry, I have a very bad eyesight. Please share some information on the rental income that an investor can earn from an investment in apartment. Would anyone like to answer that?
You're cutting off, sorry.
Yeah.
I think Oliver did cover it up in one of the panel questions in terms of the sort of returns one could look at, especially within the residential sector. From an investment standpoint, looking at 6 to 7% returns or 5 to 7% broadly, depending, of course, on the location and the unit that one invests in. But generally, I think, and add to it the fact that from a capital value standpoint, as again both Basil and Oliver pointed out earlier, there is the potential of values going up as we move forward, as the market gets more momentum from investors coming in and so on and so forth. So ballpark, I mean, it does seem to be a pretty attractive investment option from a return standpoint, particularly in this low interest rate environment where cost of borrowing is substantially cheaper than the returns we're looking at, because these returns are looking at the full property value and not really the investment or the return on your equity. Should you take a bank mortgage, for example?
I mean, one of the also as well, like if you bear in mind the fact that with our particular payment plan that we've got, essentially what we're doing is, the project's going to be handed over in let's say 9 months' time. We're essentially giving you almost 6-year financing at 0% interest. So as an investor, you're going to receive your property in September and you've only paid 40% of the capital value. So you've then got 5 years to obviously pay off that 60% whilst also being able to generate an income as well from that property. So when you look at your return on equity over that 5-year period is in the region, depending on the unit, between 38 to 42%, which is exceptionally good. Obviously, then once you've paid the property's full value, you're then looking at, again, as we've said, anything from sort of, for our project, anything from sort of 5 to 6% as a net return, which is exceptional for a luxury product, because generally the rule of thumb is if you buy luxury real estate, you get very, very low returns. Whereas if you buy a property that has a low capital value, it generally has sort of low value, high income property. So to be able to get those sort of two options of capital appreciation and high returns married together is an ideal scenario really for many investors.
I think you hit a very good point here, Oliver, is because 100%. What we do technically is, I believe, there are some properties that are designed for end user, right? So we're talking about penthouses.
Of course.
You might have a customer that comes in and tells you, what's my return on a penthouse? So the penthouse designed for end user, and your money is, you can rent it, you can get a return, but your majority of your money is the appreciation gain you will get if you flip it in a few years, rather than buying a 1 or a 2 bedroom if you're just looking at the rental yield. So I think you hit a very important note, and it's very important that this is clearly discussed with the potential client, as opposed to just buying an expensive or a very large property against what is the rental yield of it. No. So here we need to differentiate what the client is looking for. Are you looking something for you and your family to live in and just make money after a few years? Or you want to get an investment fund to buy a full floor or 2 apartments that will get you the rates you are discussing, the 5 or 6 or the 7? And by the way, some of them go down to the net value of 6 and 7, not as a gross even, so which is considered extremely healthy in today's market. So I absolutely agree with you.
And as we said the other day as well, like most, we've seen a huge uplift in sales over the last, 6 or 7 months during obviously COVID. But as you said yesterday, Basil, when we were chatting, is a lot of purchasers are buying bigger units, mainly because obviously they'll have a house here in Qatar, but then investors want to have another place to go to, even whether at the weekends or just have a change of scenery more than anything. And
it was like a huge stress. It was a huge stress test for us, because you didn't know how the market was going to react. We're in a pandemic that it's new on everybody. So the first few months you saw some people, just being a little bit conservative with their money, or what they want or what they don't want to do. By the time we hit June, July, this is where I thought, in my humble opinion, like things went extremely well, to a certain point that in terms of residential leasing, everything was leased out, especially the bigger units with us. And in terms of the selling, we saw a huge potential, for example, in G1 Islands, the villa plots, the bigger units, and even the smaller units as an investment funds. So we were extremely happy with the results that came in during the pandemic. In terms of the sales transactions and the sales values that came, majority of it being locally, of course, because the restriction of traveling. It was mainly the local market, or majority local market, mainly locals and the long-term expats. People like my family and other Arab families, or as you mentioned, like expats that have been here for so many years, they consider this home. They feel home, they feel safe, they feel secure. I can't imagine myself living anywhere else. And this is why I'm comfortable enough to do an investment, and even back to the core issue is to transfer my residency towards my apartment. That gives me the sense of security even more, the sense of belonging. And that's a beautiful feeling.
Thank you, Wasil. I definitely love to see this conversation going, but unfortunately, we're like 10 minutes late to the call, so I leave it here. Thank you for your questions. Big thanks to the speakers and the panelists for taking their time to partake and engage in this webinar. They are very valuable. Special thanks to the Ministry of Municipality and Environment, the Ministry of Justice, Qatari Diar, UDC, and the Qatar Sotheby's International Realty for their engagement and for their constant cooperation. Until then, please stay tuned for future Invest Qatar and IPA events. Take care and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.